The wind whispered through the narrow streets of the village. Shadows stretched long across the crumbling walls of the old houses. The air felt heavy, as if the night itself was holding its breath. Mira walked slowly, her lantern casting trembling light on the cobblestones. Every step echoed unnaturally, bouncing back at her from the silent buildings. She felt a sudden chill crawl up her spine. It was not cold air but something unseen brushing against her skin. Her heart thudded, loud and erratic, like a warning she could not ignore. Ahead, the old chapel loomed, abandoned for decades, yet somehow alive in the dark. A faint glow flickered through the cracked stained glass. Mira squinted, seeing a figure in white moving inside. It was delicate, almost floating, the fabric of a wedding dress flowing as if underwater. The figure raised its hand, pointing directly at her, yet her voice caught in her throat. A soft sob echoed through the empty chapel. It was distant, yet sharp, like the sound of grief pressed into the walls. Mira could smell the faint scent of roses, decayed and sweet at once. Her lantern flickered, threatening to die, and in that moment, the figure turned fully. Her face was pale, almost glowing in the dim light, eyes hollow yet piercing, staring through Mira, into her very soul. Mira felt a weight on her chest, a pressure that made it hard to breathe. The sobbing grew louder, filling her ears, drowning out her own thoughts. The bride stepped forward, gliding rather than walking. The floorboards creaked under no weight at all, as if the air itself shivered. Mira wanted to run, yet her legs refused to obey. She felt her body freeze, trapped by the presence of something beyond understanding. Suddenly, the bride reached out, her hand brushing Myra's shoulder. Coldness unlike any winter wind seeped into her bones. A vision flashed before her eyes, scenes of betrayal, heartbreak, and sudden death. The villages she had known, long gone, appeared in these memories, silent and accusing. Mira stumbled back, heart hammering, her mind screaming yet silent. The bride smiled, not with joy, but with sorrow sharpened into a blade. Her lips moved, whispering words that Mira could feel rather than hear. Every word cut into her mind, leaving a hollow ache of despair. The lantern fell, its light extinguishing instantly. Darkness enveloped her, thick and suffocating, yet the sobbing did not cease. A faint whisper danced around her ears, promising secrets of the village long hidden. Mira realized she was no longer outside the chapel, yet she could not tell where inside began or ended. The ghost bride appeared closer, the air around her shimmering like heat over stone. Mira felt herself drawn forward, compelled against all instinct. A single tear rolled down the bride's cheek, freezing before it touched the floor. Mira knew she was witnessing a story of love twisted into vengeance. Then the whisper grew into a shriek, and the world tilted. The chapel walls twisted, old wood groaning as if alive. Shadows of past villages flickered behind the bride, faces pleading, screaming. Myra's mind struggled to comprehend, terror rooting her in place. The bride stopped, her eyes locking onto Myra's with unbearable intensity. She lifted her hands, and the air shimmered around her like heat over ice. Mira felt her soul tremble, a tugging, pulling sensation as if the bride wanted to claim her spirit. The sobbing reached a crescendo, shaking the chapel to its foundations. Then, silence. The sudden quiet pierced deeper than any scream. Mira gasped, lungs burning, eyes wide in the suffocating darkness. The bride vanished, leaving only a faint shimmer of white in the corner of the room. Mira stumbled forward, heart pounding, certain she was no longer alone. A single wedding shoe lay on the floor, pristine and untouched by dust. It pointed toward the back of the chapel, toward the altar long forgotten. Mira felt a pull, a magnetic force guiding her forward, each step heavier than the last. The air grew colder, the shadows darker, as if they waited for her final choice. A whisper came again, soft but demanding. Find what was lost, or be claimed forever. Myra's fingers brushed the altar, ice biting into her skin. Suddenly, visions of the village's darkest secrets assaulted her mind. She saw love destroyed, promises broken, and lives stolen by lies. The bride reappeared, hovering above the altar. Her eyes glimmered with sorrow and rage, a combination that made Mira shiver uncontrollably. Every instinct screamed to flee, yet curiosity anchored her to the spot. The chapel seemed alive, responding to the ghost bride's will, walls bending, floor creaking. Mira could feel time stretching, moments melting into eternity. The bride's whisper filled her mind fully now, a voice both gentle and terrifying. You cannot leave until you understand, until you see what was taken. Mira knew that whatever happened next, the village would never be the same. And neither would she. Myra's hands trembled on the altar, the ice searing into her skin, yet she could not pull away. The chapel felt alive, breathing around her, the shadows stretching like fingers reaching for her soul. The ghost bride floated higher, her white dress billowing, almost merging with the dark ceiling. Her hollow eyes pierced Mira, yet there was sadness within them, a longing that cut deeper than fear. The whisper returned, now clearer, almost insistent. See the truth, or be trapped in the shadow forever. Myra's head throbbed as memories not her own began to flood her mind. She saw a young bride, smiling and radiant, walking through the village decades ago. The villagers cheered, unaware that envy and malice festered in their hearts. She saw betrayal unfold like a slow-burning fire, a lover stolen by lies, promises broken with a cruel smile, a marriage undone before it began. The bride's tears turned to anger, a rage so pure it transcended death. Mira felt the despair, the injustice, and the chilling certainty that the bride had vowed vengeance. A sudden gust slammed the chapel doors shut, rattling the ancient wood. Candles flickered to life along the walls, casting dancing shadows that mimicked the bride's movements. Mira could hear whispers echoing from the walls, accusing, pleading, warning. She stumbled backward, heart hammering, yet the altar seemed to pull her forward. The bride descended slowly, hovering just above the floor. Her face was closer now, pale and flawless, yet twisted with the weight of sorrow and anger. You must understand, she whispered, voice soft yet commanding. Every soul in this village has a secret. Every secret feeds me. Mira shivered, feeling invisible threads connecting her to the past, the pain, and the betrayal. Then Mira saw it, a small, hidden compartment in the altar, lined with rotting velvet. She bent down, her fingers shaking as she opened it, revealing a bundle of letters, yellowed with age. The words inside told a story of love stolen, of deceit, of promises broken in the shadows of greed. Each letter was a thread, weaving the tale that bound the ghost bride to the village. Mira felt a presence behind her, cold and insistent. The bride's hand rested lightly on her shoulder, and a shiver ran through her body. Do you see now? The ghost whispered. Mira nodded, unable to speak, overwhelmed by the magnitude of grief and rage held in those pages. The chapel trembled as if responding to her realization. Walls groaned, floorboards shifted, and shadows danced violently across the stone. Myra's lantern, lying on the floor earlier, flared back to life, illuminating the bride fully. She was no longer just a ghost. She was a force, a memory, and a warning all at once. Mira returned to the village the following day, the letters clutched tightly against her chest. The morning sun did little to warm the streets, as though the village itself held its breath. She walked past familiar homes, past people who smiled without knowing the weight they carried. Each glance she received felt heavy, as if the villagers sensed the truth hidden behind her eyes. She gathered the courage to confront the elders first, the ones whose hands had shaped the past. Their faces, once proud and indifferent, fell when Mira revealed the letters. Secrets long buried were read aloud, exposing betrayals and heartbreaks that had fueled the ghost bride's sorrow. Some listened with shame, others with disbelief, yet none could deny the truth. The village square, once quiet and indifferent, became a place of reckoning. Mira read each story, each act of deceit, aloud to the townspeople, her voice steady though her heart quivered. The air was thick with guilt, sorrow, and a strange, cleansing tension. The villagers could feel the presence of the ghost bride, not as terror, but as a witness, her spirit hovering just beyond sight. As the final letters were read, the wind shifted, carrying the scent of roses freshly bloomed. The sun broke through clouds, warm and golden, illuminating the square in gentle light. Mira felt a movement behind her and turned to see the ghost bride standing there, no longer menacing, her expression peaceful. She wore the same wedding dress, yet it glowed softly, as if released from decades of pain and anger. The bride stepped forward, and Mira held her breath. You have done what was needed, the ghost whispered, her voice serene. The truth is known. The village remembers now. For the first time, the hollow eyes softened fully, filling with relief and gratitude. Slowly, The bride lifted her hands, letting the sunlight touch her form. She began to fade, not into darkness, but into light, her sorrow dissolving like mist in the morning. The villagers watched, silent and awestruck, feeling a weight lift from their hearts. Where fear had once lived, understanding and peace began to settle. Mira lowered the letters, feeling the chill of the night finally release her. She understood that the ghost bride's power had never been evil. It was a cry for remembrance, a demand for justice. The village, forever changed, would carry her story in its heart, honoring the love and betrayal that had shaped generations. The chapel, once dark and menacing, now stood calm, bathed in sunlight. No whispers remained, no shadows danced, only the faint fragrance of roses lingering in the breeze. Mira knew she had fulfilled her role, but the memory of that night, of the ghost bride, would remain with her forever. As she walked away, the villagers began to speak softly to one another, sharing their regrets and apologies. A sense of healing passed through the streets, gentle and slow, like the tide retreating after a storm. Mira looked back once, and for a fleeting moment, she saw the bride's smile, radiant and free. The ghost bride had finally found peace. And in that village, long haunted by sorrow, life began to move forward once again. Guided by the memory of a love lost, a betrayal remembered, and a spirit finally at rest. The wind carried the faint echo of a wedding song, soft and haunting, a reminder of what had been. And what could now finally be forgiven.